This episode of Game Masters Hall is sponsored by The Deck of Many and Level Up Dice.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Game Masters Hall. I'm Amy Vorpahl, and today we're talking about how you can sensorially enhance your game with Markeia McCarty. Hi, Markeia.
Hey,
so
Amy.
good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Of course. I want to talk to you about how you can sensorially enhance your game. And by that I mean, when you're at the table, regardless of maps and minis and all of that, there are other things you can do to enhance the five senses at the game. So for instance, you're at the bottom of the mine of a mountain, and there's a huge forge, and you run across a lever, you pull it, and all of a sudden the forge comes to life! Just an example, you know.
I like that. No, I love that because using light and everything like that play that you can, like what's you utilize in your own environment to just up it just a notch. I like that.
And obviously we're here in a studio, but at a home game there are other ways you can do it too. Is there anything specifically that comes to mind for you that you do to bring your players more into the game?
Absolutely. I have a lot of fun with that personally. One of the things that I do is that I incorporate poetry.
That's what?
Yes.
And you write it like original poetry?
Oh no, I utilize the masters with that one.
Really?
Yeah. Everything from I do T.S. Eliot, Maya Angelou. I have a stack of poetry books at home that. I mean, think about it. You're already attracted to that. I mean, poetry is so, it can be visceral. It can make you instantly go back into like your time as a childhood, you know, like nostalgia. It can upset you and get you riled up. I mean, the poetry is already there for you to be able to set that emotional tone that you want to, whether it's like introducing a character in that way, or it's, you know, you want to set a certain state of dread for when, your players have walked into this dungeon that maybe they don't even realize is a dungeon. So then you set that tone with, you know, No Man's Land.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
Can you remember a time when you used poetry that was like particularly effective?
Yeah, actually, it was on this channel. I did Weave Society. I GM'd, and the character that I had, the first one that was their quest giver, I also had it, and they didn't know that was actually going to be their big bad. So I had, the way that they first got introduced to her, she was reading off T.S. Eliot, and it was a particularly thoughtful and chilling poem for someone who was so bright and bubbly. So
a little foreshadowing there.
Exactly. So I love doing things like that. Absolutely. And then plus, you know, it helps me expand as a GM because then you're utilizing not just, players handbooks, monster handbooks, and, deck of mini cards or whatnot. I mean, those are great resources, but you're going beyond that because your entire life is up for grabs when you create a game for other people.
Absolutely. It's also, poetry is a word-based art, and you know what? So is game mastering. So you're also like filling kind of a good word bank for maybe descriptive words that you can use further on in the scene. I want to talk about it a little bit. Michael's, I've heard, like going to Michael's or going to Hobby Lobby or whatever craft store you have in your area and just perusing the shelves that they've got around a holiday or just like their discount shelves. You can pull something off and it's a figurine of something. It's always something so freaking weird. But you pull it off and then if you set it on the table, immediately you're, again, like maybe a word bank is filled. Like if this is mossy, now you just know if this describes the scene, your players, everyone else can know what they're looking at, and we're all in the same world together with just like a $5 piece of shit. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I love doing things like that, like craft stores or like dollar stores, type. Yes. Was it other people call them tag sales?
Yes.
Like yard sales. Yeah, garage sales. They're fantastic for that. actually like the weirder the better. And you don't have to put a lot of money down for anything like that. Like you said, like $5 like piece of ish. It can work out so incredibly well. Like a medallion. It can be something that you fashion. And the thing of it is that even the cheaper it looks, it kind of puts everybody on the same page, because then it becomes whatever you say it is.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
The other ways I've heard of DMs in enhancing their games is maybe writing the menu at a bar, or writing a dream that someone had and just giving them that for the session. Maybe a journal entry that they find. Other things that they would find, like a newsletter around the town. Also, we haven't talked about this sense. Sound, hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Music.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sets atmosphere so beautifully. I mean, like, think about it. Whenever you go into anything like, let's say, a haunted house, unless you walk into a room that is purposely mute and has no sound, which, by the way, that is amazing. Otherwise you get like screams and creaks and, everything like that. Cause like, I've come into a different space than my own.
Yes.
So it's like, utilizing sound that way. I mean, you can get like one of those sound effects discs. You could do that.
There's YouTube. You can just like pull from YouTube and put it on a playlist, and then if lightning strikes with a button.
If you're playing an 80s game, have an 80s playlist, ready to go for different, different scenes that you have in the world. I mean, you literally can have so much fun with it. And then also thinking of like with taste, you can make right?
Are you about to say what I think you're going to say?
I don't know. Or am I about to say what you think you're going to say?
Well, say what you're going to say. I'm hoping you're saying like making food based on where you are in the campaign. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Especially desserts. Desserts need to be made all the time. Yes. And if you can have anything that like incorporates what you're trying to do, oh my God, more of that.
I think what we're talking about too is not only being inspired by the words on the page or in the handbook or rules. We are making art when we're playing role-playing games. Yeah. And as a game master, we are the creators of a world. So we're letting our art inspire other people and ourselves. And I don't think any of the things that we've mentioned have to be just exclusively the dungeon masters or the game masters.
No.
I think the players should have license and agency and feel comfortable with writing their own poems for their characters or reading, like, I have something that'll tell you everything you need to know if you just listen to Justin Bieber or whatever.
Are you kidding? How much I would love for a bard character to read off Justin Bieber lyrics. Exactly. Like, it's like, this is my motto.
Oh man, I know, this is like my next character.
This should be everybody's next character.
But do you invite your character or your players to kind of have that agency as well?
Absolutely, because it's you might have laid the foundation for this world, but it's like everybody's playing in it. And it really is better for everybody to just be able to own a piece of it in that way. So it's like if you have someone that, I don't know, is a bartender type and they really want to make a drink for the game. It can be like sodas. It doesn't have to be alcoholic. Not saying it has to be. But it's like,
drink responsibly.
Indeed. So it can be something like that. And they want to bring something for everybody. Great. Then like do it. If somebody else has a really great idea for like sound, like a sensory sound thing, for this keep that that y'all are going to be, campaigning for, the next step in the journey, then yes, let's hear that epic sounding soundtrack, even if it's like Stargate SG-1 and they just want to play it.
Yes.
Then it's like, yes.
I had a player once, she made a Spotify playlist and the group is all women and it was like Fleetwood Mac. It was like all of these super feminine voices from like top 40 from across the decades. And it was like, she was like, we're playing this when we were going into battle. And it's just very like fierce, ferocious, diva music. And I'm like, yes, we are. That's what's happening when you're fighting this frost giant.
Yes. Oh God. I absolutely love that. And then it's like, just all of these layers that add up and it makes a real world. And then everybody's invested and it's fun. That's what this is about.
Thank you.
Fun.
Yes, exactly. Like when you part the veil and you're no longer here, like yes, please, can we no longer be in our real lives? Please, how do we do that? And how do we do it more and more immersive?
Yeah, and then it's like it keeps you invested for the 3 to 5 to 8 hours, depending on, the stamina of your campaigners,
Yes.
So, yeah.
Dude, great ideas, Markeia. I learned a lot. I hope you did too. You got some tips and tricks to bring into your next game. Before we go, let's head over to Xander, who's with Emily from Level Up Dice.
Thanks, Amy Vorpahl. I'm a big fan of your medal. Well, hey, Emily.
Hey.
What do you got for me today?
Well, today I want to talk about an aspect of the dice design that doesn't really get enough attention.
Okay.
So we've talked about the shape of dice.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about the overall design of the 7 polyhedrals in our dice. What I really want to focus on today is the font of the dice.
Oh, yeah. You never really think about that.
Exactly. Now, we have a lot of dice out in the world that are pretty standardized fonts all
Sure.
across the dice. What we like to do at Level Up is we play with new font designs so that we can keep releasing usually 3 to 4 new fonts on our dice every year.
So you guys make the fonts yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and this actually requires a lot of development because we have to make sure the design of the font doesn't actually affect the roll of the dice.
What?
Yeah, you have to
How?
make sure that the dice stays balanced because
Okay.
of course with the engraving, different numbers might be bigger or smaller,
Sure.
and that actually affects the balance of the dice.
Wow.
So more goes into it than you think about.
It's good to know that you guys are putting in the due diligence so that
You
we don't have to.
Exactly. So what I'm showing you here is just a sampling of some of the fonts that we've released over the past couple of years
Okay.
to give you an idea of just how much personality and character a different font can add to your dice set.
Yeah.
We have fantasy, military, frontier. I'm just gonna start making up names
boy.
so you can make them sound. And this is Blatron.
Brat.
This is JD. And this is HP.
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 Because you're Australian.
Exactly.
H.
So you can see there's actually quite a different feel for each of these fonts, which means you can really get a set of dice that calls to you from all angles, not just the color or the material.
That's so cool. You can tie it into whatever genre of game you're playing.
Precisely. Each of these fonts is either sci-fi inspired, fantasy inspired, or is another more generic look like the military or the more straightforward fonts.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Emily.
Yeah.
I had no idea this is something that you even think about.
Most people don't.
Well, back to you, Amy.
Thanks, you two. And Markeia, thank you so much for joining me. You're actually taking over the host seat next time. So who do you have in the hot seat?
Eric Campbell. Yes, GM extraordinaire. First time I met him, he was GMing me, and now I get to interview him about this entire process. So
Oh my gosh.
I'm looking forward.
That is a wonderful topsy-turvy. And for you folks at home, thank you so much for watching. If you are looking to enhance your game sensorially, why don't you check out The Deck of Many? This is a tool used to assist GMs, freeing us from traditional reference books and allowing us to only bring the references we need to the table. You can find them over at thedeckofmany.com, and the link is in the description. I hope you enjoyed this episode because we had a blast.